Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Real Talk with Kessa Gooden. My name is Kessa Gooden and I'm your host of Real Talk with Kessa Gooden. So today I want to thank you guys for joining us live today and do apologize for any technical difficulties in advance. So today I'm bringing you a special, very, very, very special guest. Before I introduce my guest, go ahead, like, share, and comment on this live and start a watch party. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you so much for lending your eyes and ears to today's show with Real Talk with Kessa Gooden. Today, my guest is a special guest. It's Kara Scott Dentley. Kara is a scientist that turned an entrepreneur, and she's also a success specialist. She's a physicist. She was a physicist and a geospatial specialist for the federal government, and now she's spending the rest of her life going around and training individual and organizations on how to make passive income from home working part-time. Kara is also owner of a nonprofit organization called Already Always Amazing. So, Kara Scott Dentley, today we're going to be talking about how to stay calm in the midst of a chaos. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kara. Welcome, Kara. How are you today?
Hi, I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
Yes, and I think that we may be frozen on the screen, but we're going to continue because we have a message today to share with our audience how to stay calm in the midst of chaos. As we see, it's trying time right now, so we have to lend a word of encouragement to those who are watching live and those who are watching the replay. What do you say, Kara?
You know, there's so many things that's happening in the world, but I always just trust that everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen and that everything happens with a purpose and it's all part of God's plan. So with that, I don't allow things to get me off track. I just feel like, there's a saying that I always say is just to love people and trust God. And with that, even when it seems like everything is in disarray and things are going what people feel like, is tumultuous, everything's going south, I feel like no, everything is going exactly according to plan. So that's how I just kind of keep myself grounded in the midst of chaos.
Amen to that. And the same here with me. I realize that there's so much that's going on in the world today, and it's like very challenging for a lot of people that is going through the chaos. We have the pandemic, we have George Floyd, we have Breonna Taylor, we have all these things that's going on, and we still have to learn how to keep ourselves calm while all of this is going on. So I would like for you to take a moment and try to touch on that topic that I just mentioned just now. What are some of the things that people could do to help, deviate from being stressed about the situations that we're facing now?
We underestimate one of the very things that we do innately, and that is take time out to just breathe. I think that what's happening now, a lot of people are so used to what we consider the norm. But how was it ever a norm? It only became a norm because someone told us that that was the norm, right? It only became what we consider normalcy because someone along the way said that this is how things are supposed to go. So when we're raised that way, we're taught that way, we grow up that way, then when things go according to what we think, oh God, everything is in disarray, then we're like, what do I do now? How do I stop this train? How do I go back to the way that it was? And I a lot of times we have to take time out to say, well, what is it that I really want anyway? What is it that I really want anyway? And case in point, I remember when I was still working full time, there was an opportunity that became available to apply for a higher position. And I remember really getting a headache about it and going through the motions of applying for this position. And then I got really clear on what it was that I really wanted. And it wasn't the job. I didn't want the job. I wanted what I thought came with the job, with the position. I'm thinking about the additional pay. And that was really my driving desire was to get the higher pay. But when I really started to look at everything that came with the position, I was like, I really don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we have to take time out to do is to think about what is it that you really want. And you hear people say, "Oh, I want to be a CEO of my own company. I want to be an entrepreneur." Where there's responsibility and so many other things that come with what it is that you're asking for. Once you get clear on that, then it's like, okay, I'm ready for this. And I know that with this pandemic and all this going on, some people are now without work. And
Yeah.
here's the reality for that, which someone out there is listening. There may have been someone along the way, maybe over the last year or the last couple of years, that you've said, I'm tired of working. I'm
Yes.
tired of doing this job anyway. I'm ready to do something different. God, send me a sign. I'm ready to make a move. I'm ready to shift. I'm ready to do things on my own terms. And here it is now. We get an opportunity to create our own new norm. We
Yes.
get to, like, it's a blessing. And the minute you start to change the way that you look at what is happening and you get to decide on how you want to deal with what is happening, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and you'll see the beauty in what is happening. And I know for some people it's like, how can you say that what's happening is beautiful? Well, how can you say that it's not? We get to choose how we're interpreting what's happening. And the thing is, it's not just happening to you, it's happening to everyone. So, how is it that you could say that one person is thriving in the face of this pandemic and you have other people that feel like the whole world is crashing in on them? It's the thought process, it's the mindset about what's happening. So, when you take that time out and just say, let me breathe, and then you start to think about what are some of the things that I enjoy. I mean, and get honest with yourself. Like for me, I really enjoy nature. I enjoy working out. I enjoy taking walks. I enjoy spending time with family. And I've been able to do all of that during this pandemic. So at first it was like, what are we to do? But it was like, find you in the midst of this. Find you again. Go back to that. So that's what I've been able to do.
Thank
Um,
you.
One of the other things, listen to music. Find
Mhm.
a song that resonates in your spirit or in your heart. When you feel yourself going on this downward slope, find some song, some music, something that gets your spirit moving, that gets you excited, whatever that is. So I always have songs that I have playing in the back of my mind, and then I'll play them and listen to them.
Thank you so much, Kara, for sharing. And yes, you are so right, Kara, because when we're doing a job, we're preoccupied with that job. So we have to be, working every single day and not get any time out. And for those who have lost their jobs, I do apologize for that. But, this is like Kara said, this is the opportunity for you to take the time out and actually rethink about what you want and what you're looking for in life so that you may be able to create the exact life that you choose to live and the exact life that you desire. So I know it's not easy, and as Kara said, you have to have the mindset to do that. So I guess improving the mindset on how to go about life. Why are we doing this? The other day we spoke about purpose and why life is, what's the purpose of life and why we are living.
Mhm.
So when we get this time off in the pandemic, it's given us time to really think, what is the true purpose of me doing that job? Why do I need to do it? And now that you have the free time, you get time to spend with your kids to homeschool, you get time to spend with your families and your friends. And we're not saying that it's easy to leave the 9 to 5 world, but there's another world that Kara can talk about, which is the world of passive income and the world of entrepreneurship, which is such a beautiful way of living and an easier way of living in the sense that you get to work smarter and not harder. Right, Kara?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So can we touch a little bit on entrepreneurship as a solution in this pandemic, as a method to staying calm during this pandemic, what's going on?
The whole idea with entrepreneurship is being able to create. And I have affirmations that I always go through, and if we're always saying that we're made in the likeness and in the image of God, and God creates, therefore we get to create. We get to create the life that we want, the lifestyle, the friendships, the relationships, the businesses that we want. All of us have a skill set. We have something that we are good at. We have gifts that we were given at birth, that we're on assignment here while we're on earth. And I think that many of us, because of how we were raised, we were given like a handful of opportunities that people say, you can grow up, you can become a teacher, a pastor, and entrepreneur was not one that was really introduced to me. It was doctor, lawyer, hairdresser. It was just a handful of them. And now what we're seeing is the world just opening up on a whole nother level. And I think the individuals that get this the most is the younger generation. And it's
Yes.
those of us who are caught somewhere between that millennial age and like our parents, that we're like stuck between two worlds. And so for me, when I got truly honest, and we always talk about clarity and what do you want? Whoever is listening now, that's a question that I pose to you. What is it that you want? Many times we incorporate other people into what we want. Oh, I want to make sure that I have the best for my kid. Oh, I want to make sure that I have the best for my parents. But what is it outside of that? They're taken care of. What is it that you want that makes you happy, that makes your heart smile, that makes life worth living? What is that? The scary part of that question is that most people have not been asked that, so they don't even know the answer. They're not clear on that. And so, in this time where we get to choose and we get to come around and we get to create this world that we want, I mean, you have people that get paid for playing video games. Like, really? When we were coming up, that was not an option. There are people that get paid to travel and take pictures of what they see to share it with the rest of the world. There are people that get paid to explore different parts of the world that have not been explored before, like cave divers. I met cave divers, and that opened up my world. This was while I was working, and I was like, wait a minute, you get paid to explore the depths of the world in places that no one else has gone, and to take pictures and to geocode it and mark it on the map so that people know that this cave is here. And how amazing is that? So I know as someone that's listening, maybe you're adventurous. Maybe you think no one's going to pay me to go on an adventure. Someone will pay you for anything. It's out there. So now that you're starting to think and you're starting to unlock this, there are people that you can connect with to help you to dig and to go deeper. For me, I feel like with my background in science and with the understanding that I have, I'm still a researcher at heart. I can dig deep. I can go, what is the cause of this and why is that? And so part of what I do is to help people to understand that there is another level. First of all, coming from my background, there were people who would say, "Are you really going to walk away from that amazing job that you have with the federal government to come around and do, to work from home?" And for a minute, and this may be someone who's listening as well, for a minute I felt like, well, maybe I should just be grateful to have the job that I have. Maybe I shouldn't want to do more. Maybe I shouldn't want to branch out. Maybe I shouldn't want to go further. So it kind of prolonged me walking away and taking on this entrepreneurship role. But I knew that there were more people for me to meet. Case in point, if I was still working a full time job, you and I would have never met
Yeah.
at the City Gala City Summit.
Exactly.
And there are so many countless other people that I would not have ever met if I had not taken on this entrepreneurship journey. Um, Being able to be present, as you mentioned, with my son being at home during this COVID,
Yes.
during this pandemic. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do as well, was to be able to be present with
Yeah.
my son, to be more involved. You can say, thank you,
Yes.
to be more involved with him during his educational process. Because with him, he's like, why can't I just create games? Like, that's what I want to do. Why can't I just learn what it is that I want to learn? He's learning about the differences, and he's 8 years old. He's
Mhm.
learning about the difference between um, viruses and bacteria, on his own.
Mhm.
And he's
Mhm.
like, why can't I just have the freedom? Why can't people just do what they want to do? Now, here's what's interesting. And someone may be having this mental battle, because I'm always like, you have to sit down and do the classwork, do the classwork, do the classwork. And he's like, well, but I'm still learning over here. And so when we have our events, our entrepreneurship events, and we have our women's events, we're always telling people, follow your dreams, go after your passion. But yet, with the younger generation, we're snuffing out that very spirit of creativity, of being free, of about following your passion. So we're at a crossroad. I think that what we need to do more now is not so much follow the traditions that have been bestowed upon us, but to allow that freedom of choice, the very freedom that we feel like we want while we're working for
Mhm.
someone else, doing something that we don't want to do for, 40 hours per week, and not seeing the income that we want nor the results, and not being able to be as creative and operate in our own genius. So I think that now is just the perfect opportunity. It's just so perfect. Start to dream again. Start to have those your wildest imagination about what your life could be, because it's possible. And I'm a living testimony to that. So I was one that didn't grow up in an entrepreneurship household. My dad did some things on the side, but they worked 40 years, on a 9 to 5. My mom and my dad, and so that's what I saw. So jumping off into entrepreneurship, they were, two people who initially were like, why would you want to leave that good job? You have amazing benefits with that job. So they could not be my support system in the beginning, because they did not understand the world that I was embarking upon. So
Mhm.
I had to plug into people who were on that same path, that said, no, you can do it, stay the course. You can you know go so far if you stay focused. And that's what's happened. So
Wow, that is so amazing, Kara, and I'm so honored to be here with you, discussing about how to stay calm in the midst of this chaos, and also how to use entrepreneurship as a vehicle to true life success. And I know it's not easy for having a job and actually leaving your job, but if you imagine the life you can have, like Kara just explained, we met at City Gala City Summit, and that was an amazing time. I tell you, one of the best experiences I've ever had. It's like it's really great to be able to be around like-minded individual people who are entrepreneurs, people who are trying to make a legacy and leave a legacy for the world. I know we're cheated out with technology today because we're having glitches and frozen screens, and I do want to take the time to apologize about that. We won't be able to complete the full talk today, but I want to bring Kara back so that we could actually have this conversation, because this conversation is vital for our society. It's vital for the generation that's coming forth, because they need to find a new way of building a life and building a legacy and a career that they could truly enjoy, with the finances that can truly bring their family true financial freedom. And that's what Kara is talking about. She had a
yeah,
real good government job, but it wasn't good enough because it wasn't free, and she wasn't having the freedom that she needed, the freedom to travel when she wanted, the freedom to not have to ask permission for vacation, the freedom to not have to take her kid with her. She didn't have that kind of freedom where she could have her child with her 24/7 and actually bond with that child. So we're talking about how to stay calm in the midst of the storm. Kara, I would like to continue to talk until we can't speak any longer,
okay,
because this is a very vital topic, and our youth out there today need to hear this message that there is hope out there for the
yeah.
future generation. There is hope.
I want them to know that, I see, in our era, we coming up in high school and elementary school, we didn't have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these different social media outlets. So I just want to encourage the younger generation that what you see many times is not the truth, is not the reality that a lot of people are living. And don't compare yourself to other people. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. You are doing exactly what you are called to do in this moment. And what we get to do, all of us, I don't care if you're 7 or 97, what all of us get to do is to choose each day how we're going to operate in that day. And the only person that you have to look at and look in the eye and be happy with the choices that you made is yourself. And I know that, there's a lot of times people feel like there's competition. You're not. God made you unique and in his likeness, that you don't have to wake up one day and feel like, oh God, I feel amazing. Then you go to Instagram or TikTok and you're like, oh my God, like I'm not doing what they're doing. I don't see myself like that. They seem really happy. They seem, like they're having the most amazing life. And sometimes it's not even that's not even what's happening. You take the camera down and you take off the makeup and all of the handbags. People are hurting. And
Yes.
so you don't want to compare yourself to that, because even that person that you see who's an influencer, many times they're hurting and they're looking at someone else in comparison. So what we need to start doing is to tell people that everything that you need, God has given all of us everything that we need. So what we need to do is to focus more so on personal development and to just operate in the space of community, of being, of treating people the way that you want to be treated, like the things that really matter. And when I started to really lock in on that, because even though, yes, we do very well with entrepreneurship, yes, I enjoy our events that we host, but there came a time when I had to get real with myself, outside of all of the accolades, with outside of all of that stuff. When you're stripped from all of that, who are you? what
Yes.
what does that look like outside of all of that? And that's what really matters. That's what matters. You are here for a purpose. Like, if it wasn't meant for you to be here, God would not have put you on this earth at this appointed time. Even during this pandemic, we get to say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, this will go down in history. We get to say that, oh, yes, I was around during this time and this is what I did. Just like we read about the world wars that have happened in the past. World War
Mhm.
One, World War Two, all of these different, the Civil War. We read about what happened in history and the people who overcame and that built things with their lives and actually built a legacy in the process and in the midst of all of that. We get to say that. Our generations that come up behind us, our grandkids would be like, wait a minute, grandma, you were around during the pandemic of 2020. What was it like? You know? They'll be reading about this stuff on the internet, in history books. Like, so we get a chance to participate in this. And we
Yeah.
get a chance to say that we were a part of this milestone in history. We get to
Yes.
say that, you
Yeah.
know? So when you start to look at that, I really feel like, with all that has happened, I wish that there was a way that we could really lock in and hone in on the beauty of just life, just being. It really hurts my heart when I see people doing something just to get by, or just to get money. And if that's the case, trust me, I get it, because when I was ready to leave my job, I stayed because I needed to bring in income. But what you need to do in this moment, if you are in that situation and you want to do something different, you're like, how do I get out of this? You feel like you're trapped. Trust me, you are not the only one. But what you need to do is remain disciplined and see the light at the end of the tunnel, and know that there is more that's coming. And what you need to do is to put the right things in place, connect with the right people along the way, connect the dots, do things and participate in activities today that will lay the foundation that you see for your future, that you see for your life in the future. See, Rome wasn't built in a day. The activity that I do today is leading me to somewhere that I see myself in the future, 1 year down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Before I left my job, even when I started with entrepreneurship, I didn't leave right away. I did both simultaneously, and I had to lock down and I had to become disciplined. I wasn't doing a lot of spending. I wasn't going to get the nails and the hair done. I wasn't doing all of that because I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. I wasn't trying to compete. I would see people traveling all around the world. And at that time, I said, it's not time for me to travel all around the world right now. I'm building a legacy. And what I need to do is put money to the side to continue to build upon what it is that I see for my future, one brick at a time, $1 at a time. And then I started to invest. I remember when I bought my first piece of property when I was 25. And I just remember the thought process that I had to go through to overcome the thought that, am I too young to buy a piece of property? Oh, wait, I don't have anyone that's going in half. Can I handle a mortgage? If I could handle rent, I could handle a mortgage, right? So that was while I was in graduate school. So it was a very interesting and tedious process that I had to go through because I didn't have um, regular income from a 9 to 5 per se. I was on a fellowship. I was on a grant. So they were kind of like trying to discount it. But then I had money that I had set aside in my account that showed that I was consistent. My credit score was pretty good. So then they went on and gave me the mortgage. And I didn't know how to start the process. And maybe this is how someone feels. Maybe it's towards a mortgage, or maybe it's towards starting a business. You don't even know where to start. I came
Yes.
up with the idea and said, if I could pay rent, I could buy a house. And then I was like, where do I go?
Mhm.
Where do I even start? So to be honest with you, for that first step, because for someone out there, you're like, where do I even start? I just walked into a real estate office and said, hey, I want to buy a house and I don't even know where do I start. Do I start here? They was like, have you been pre-approved? And I stopped and started laughing. I was like, well, what's pre-approved? Where do I go to get pre-approved? And they were like, you have to go to the bank. And I was like, okay, just any bank? Like, and so I really did not know. And I didn't have anyone there to hold my hand. Like I just took one step at a time to get me to the next step. And I never got down on myself like, oh, you'll never get it done. You don't even know the process. I had my end goal in mind to purchase
Yes.
a house, and I wasn't letting up until that came true. So for someone out there, you're looking to start a job, start a business, or maybe it's even starting a job because everybody's not cut out to do entrepreneurship. Maybe you just want a different job. Start asking questions to the right people that can get you on that path.
Thank you so much, Kara. Asking the right question. We're going to end the show short today, very short in a second. We will be scheduling a new day for Kara and I to continue this conversation because it's very vital that this information is out there and it doesn't do us justice with the technical difficulties that we're having right now and all this that's happening. But
For a
we are
reason.
yeah, it's happening for a reason, but that we're getting the information out there, but I want it to be out there clear, Kara, because this is very vital for the community to hear this, and we're having this challenge right now, but we're going to reschedule and we'll announce when Kara will be back on the show, and we'll complete this segment because it's an awesome segment and we need to continue talking about this because our youths are our future and we need to show them how to build that legacy that they will need to leave for their children and grandchildren. And till we come back to you live again with Real Talk with Kessa Gooden, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you like, share, and comment on this video and join us next time for Real Talk with Kessa Gooden. Kara, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again in the future very, very soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me. See you soon. Peace and
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Okay.